Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Waffle Press Movie Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. This is episode number 85 or 86. I bet I got that right. Gene is not here today, but I wanted to honor him by trying to remember the episode numbers that were actually on for these Hangouts because we've been doing it for a while and we're coming close to 100. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun when we get there. So Gene unfortunately can't be here today, but I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Josh Clark. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Happy to be here.
Yeah. What's going on? I got to do a quick rundown of what we're going to talk about today. What's going on with the podcast? But if you're going to be my kind of co-host for today,
Right.
what's going on? How are you? How have you been? We always ask everyone how they've been during the pandemic.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, no, I've been good. It's been an adjustment for sure. I'm a very extroverted person. The business I'm in is like you're always hanging out with people, always going out. So it's definitely been an adjustment, but I'm getting there, and we're starting to shift back. So it's nice. It's a comfort to know that things are starting to kind of almost get back to normal.
Eventually, it's like
Eventually, yeah, baby
yeah,
steps. Yeah,
yeah.
baby
Like
steps into the elevator.
I'm still editing the last couple retrospectives for the Quora and the failed blockbusters, and like listening to some of the stuff, we're like, yeah, it looks like the pandemic's winding down because some of them might have been recorded a couple months ago, and I'm like,
Yep. It's like, oh
well,
no.
it was for a minute.
Yep. Yep.
My bad. But speaking of retrospectives, that's also what I want to plug before we move on to the rest of the episode. Failed blockbusters, which sounds like a very cruel title. I promise it's actually quite loving. They're failed blockbusters at the box office, but many of them are not failed in our hearts. Maybe one of them, but I'll let you all listen to the podcast and figure out which one that is right off the bat. And serving up comics, Gene and Nick are hard at work over there. I guess I don't. We are not professional. Our tagline is professionally unprofessional. We're just guys having fun and having friends onto the show and to talk about what they like to have fun with too. And I guess that'll lead us into the first topic of the day, which is we always ask people what they've been watching. So, Josh, as you tell me about yourself, I also would like to hear about what else you've been watching. Anything that could reveal more about who you are, what you like to do, or if you just like watching garbage like we do over here.
I do love watching garbage. I actually this it doesn't really it doesn't give an accurate window into who I am because I've really I've started watching a lot of things that I haven't seen before. So this last Halloween, I dipped my toe into horror films. Not a huge horror fan, or I didn't think I was. And I loved it. So I've watched The Conjuring, I watched Insidious, I'm watching all of these franchises. But very recently, I started watching slasher films. I don't know if you saw me obsessing about it on Twitter.
I believe I did, because that'll be another topic conversation that comes up. I believe we have a mutual friend who also like
Yes.
went hard into some certain slasher franchises, and I'm very happy they did. So
Yes, yes, yeah. I think it started with the Fear Street movies on Netflix. I saw those, I loved those, and I was like, I gotta watch Scream now. I gotta watch Halloween now. So that's been a lot of fun doing all those.
do you have any like favorites that you've stumbled across so far?
I really enjoy. I don't know if this. I guess this counts as slasher. But I really enjoyed Ready or Not a lot.
Oh
That
yeah. I really like that
that
one.
was so much fun. I watched the Scream movies and I love the Scream movies. And then somebody recommended that I watch Ready or Not because the guys that made that are making the next Scream. It's the first one that's not the original guy again, but this crew was great in Ready or Not. So I'm really pumped for the next Scream. Was it Scream 5 or just Scream?
Just Scream. You put
Scream again.
you make the S the 5. It's right there.
See, I in my head it's gonna be like it's a soft reboot, but it's like a meta soft reboot. Like it's part of the gag of the movie where they're gonna do their little meta dialogue in the film about how the next killings are a soft reboot or something. I don't know.
No, I've seen that idea going around, and
I'd
that
be
made
okay
me
with
like the
that.
title more. So
Yeah, that works for me.
yeah, I mean, hey, that could work. I'm really looking forward to that. So
Oh yeah,
as movies start to get pushed back again, maybe
yeah. Well,
please don't. I'm really
maybe,
excited. I
maybe I
mean,
can
do what
see
you
it in
have to. It's
Canada,
a pandemic, but like, please.
right? I like movies. I like them. Please.
Yeah, I like seeing them in a theater if I can. Not that I'm a theater purist, but you know. And again, also it's a
It's
pandemic. I will be understanding. We will be
exactly.
fine without them. Uh, Something I've been watching recently. It's no surprise to anyone. I saw Suicide Squad. Gene and Nick will be talking about it in full over at Serving Up Comics. This episode will not be about Suicide Squad. I'll just break down some stuff because the the big superhero movies with lots of personality seem to be the more divisive ones, which I actually really like, because it's like a movie like Suicide Squad, whether you like it or don't like it, tends to come down to how much you like James Gunn as a writer
There you go.
director.
Yeah.
And I think this film is really great. I think it's the best action he's ever done. I think his writing is really strong. I like that it's just really trashy and angry, and has some surprisingly not so political, like not so subtle political subtext, which isn't like, you know, when you're making a $200 million blockbuster, it's not going to be like perfect. But the fact that it's
Right.
like all these weird things are in there that James Gunn's really like interested in, like it's just totally him. And you
Yeah.
don't get to see that on that scale that often. And so like on that alone, I'll be like, yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah.
But I did rewatch it, and it worked even better for me. There's maybe some speed bumps along the way, but I don't know if anything will ever touch his masterpiece, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That
It's
is my
so good.
favorite Marvel movie. It's just so good. I love it.
Yeah, I you know, not to pick fights, but I see people being like, yeah, that one's kind of not as good as the first one, and to them I say, that's fine, you have an opinion.
You can think what you want, I guess.
Yeah, I don't like it. You know, it's fun to fight like friendly on Twitter, but I don't actually
Yeah.
hate any of you.
I
Maybe some of
guess,
you out there, but
yeah, I guess I can kind of get it, because the first one, it had this big mission they were going on to actually save the galaxy, whereas the second one, it was pretty much just them dealing with their own father issues. Like, it didn't involve, like, the rest of the galaxy was involved, but the rest of the galaxy didn't know they were involved. So it's like, maybe it doesn't feel as exciting, but I think emotionally and all the character drama, that was more exciting, and I loved that a lot more.
yeah, and like
That's what did it for me.
yeah, and the Suicide Squad is much more like first Guardians of the Galaxy, but you know, it's
It's like times
very
10. It's like
yeah, it's very like just gross and crass and vile, and like
I
the
loved
beauty
it.
of Guardians of the Galaxy, it's like anyone can be a hero if under the right circumstances. And Suicide Squad has that, but then it's also like, no. Some of these people are just straight murderers.
Yeah, they're
Some of
just
them just like
evil.
to do murder. That's not great. And it
I did
adds a
like
whole.
that they never seemed to get good at the end. Like, even, well, I don't want to
Yeah. We
spoil
don't have
anything,
to
but
spoil anything, but
yeah, like they're all just pure psychotic people, and it's great.
yeah. Like it provides an interesting balance. And you know, the tagline is "Don't get attached." And I will say there was a moment there towards the end where I was like, "Hey, they're like serious about that." That was
Oh
cool.
yeah, oh
That
yeah,
doesn't happen a lot with these big ones, but
it was shockingly enjoyable. Yeah,
yeah. Thumbs up, here.
two thumbs up for me.
Two thumbs up.
Yeah.
There you go. Take that, Ebert.
Yeah. Take
Yeah,
that,
no,
internet.
Ebert always just comes up on our podcast, and I don't know why. um, but I guess on that note, so there's a lot of VFX in that film. A lot of
There
very
is.
splashy, colorful, weird, gross things. And not all VFX is weird and gross. Some of it is beautiful and exciting. And that's because it's an art form. It can be many things. And Mr. Josh Clark, you are a VFX artist. Am I like
Yes.
that's the proper I'm a hack. I don't actually know that much about the industry on that
Yeah.
side. So you have to explain everything to me now.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm a VFX artist, but more specifically, I'm an animator. So there's a lot involved in VFX. I mean, you have like even something like uh, like Suicide Squad, say the King Shark character. Like if you're going to make him, you have to have a modeler. You have to have uh, a rigger that puts the skeleton in the character so he can move. You have to get a texture artist for the shark skin. You have to get the animator, who would be me, and then a lighter and a compositor to put him on set, with the crew. So there's all of these minds behind it, and all these people involved. So I'm just a little part of it, in the corner animating. But it's a lot of fun. I love doing it.
And was this something that you wanted to do as you were getting older? You're a little kid and you're like, you got these dreams and aspirations. Was it like, I want to be an astronaut and then a digital artist, or was like, how did you come to this point?
Well, yeah, so I pretty much only wanted to do movies. I didn't narrow it down to VFX until I was getting older. My dad actually, he was a huge nerd before any of us. So he watched Star Wars when it first came out. He's a huge fan of Battlestar Galactica. He builds models. So like for years he's been building like this 7-foot long Battlestar Galactica model. It's just in our basement. So he's a huge nerd about that stuff. And so he's always like showing us behind the scenes things when we're growing up. So I was always into that. I was into Star Wars. The Phantom Menace came out when I was 4. So I, grew up with that. And yeah, it was just always wanted to do something with movies. And then when I got older, it was VFX. And then when I went to college, I went to a trade school that was specifically for visual effects, and they sort of taught you everything. And then as I was there, I realized that my favorite one was animation. So after college, I then continued to work that skill specifically until I would get hired. But yeah, just sort of movies in general, and then it evolved into where I am now. But
No, that's pretty cool, because everyone has like such a weird trajectory, or like different, I guess, not weird, just like different. Yeah. Because sometimes you hear like, oh, it's what I always wanted to do, and other times it's like, no, I just carry a boom mic.
Yeah.
It's just great. There's all these different stories out there about this.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had a lot of coworkers. I mean, there are a lot of people in the VFX industry who it was not their first choice to be a VFX artist. Like they were something completely different, and then one day they realized this was really cool, and then 5 years later they're there. It's like, wow, like it's it's amazing where everyone comes from different areas of life, all to get to this one point. But for me, it was very straight shot. Like, I like movies. There you go. There was a brief moment where I really was into. I don't even know the technical name for it, but the sound guys. You like Kung Fu Panda, where he's like squishing celery for like footsteps, in front of the microphone. Yeah. Like I really liked that, but I never, beyond like thinking it was cool, I never got into it at all. So I was like, But I like to think if I didn't do this, I'd be that guy.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about how like the Halo, the grunts in Halo, how they got the noise, and it's just like pugs eating and playing.
Oh my god!
And it's just like that might be the best job in the world,
right? It's so like, how do you come up with these sounds? Or like one that I love is E.T.'s footsteps is just people stepping in mac and cheese. I think it's just like. It's like, okay, like where do they come up with these ideas?
Yeah, I know. You have to be like, so you have to think outside the box for like literally everything.
It's wild, but yeah, it's so impressive.
Yeah, or like like I don't want to spend, because we don't actually do any of this, but we're just excited about it. But like the Jurassic Park dinosaur noises, like those are the dinosaur noises now.
Yeah, and it's like from all these different. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. What's something you love most about your career? Just like we'll have a big old love fest about digital artistry.
I love all the people. Like, I mean, that sounds cheesy, but it's just like all the people I've met are so cool, and it's like it's the type of industry where everyone's coming from everywhere. Like when I went to I came to Canada in 2019, and like there are people from from like Vancouver, like still in Canada. There are people from London. There are people from Mexico. Like I was actually, I was in a like a Zoom call with a bunch of old coworkers. We were kind of celebrating a movie that's coming out hopefully soon. COVID keeps delaying things. But we were sort of catching up, celebrating with that crew. And it was this really difficult thing to schedule because we had, at that point, most of us had left Montreal. And so we had people from Montreal, from Vancouver, Mexico, Italy, where else? France, Germany, Thailand, like all these people were everywhere, and so we had to like find the right hour to Zoom call where someone wasn't asleep or something. But no, it's just wild to get to know all these people from all over the world. Like because of that movie or whatever the project was, we all met in the same city and got to hang out and like, get to know each other. And everyone's got something to share with you, whether it's their own tips with animation or VFX or just with like their own life story. And it's so fun to like get to know all these people. So that's been really cool. It's like my friendships and all the people I've met, it's like gone up in awesomeness, I guess, since I've moved here.
Oh,
So
that's really
that's
cool.
been cool.
Like,
yeah.
so is that like for a specific company, or is that just like for every new production they'll bring in like new people? And how does your job work in that industry, in that space?
So the one of the common contracts is it's by show. So you'll get hired for a show, and if another show comes up, they'll maybe ask to hire you for the next show. There are like, you can be a permanent employee at some studios. So there's different types of contracts. But we were all hired when I first started. We all were hired in 2019 for Cats, that wonderful movie that you might have seen.
Oh, we are pro Cats here.
Gotta love it. It's a wild movie. So we were all hired just for that. And then as that came to an end, like some people went on to do other things, or they went back home. Or some people stayed and got like new contracts for new shows and things like that. So it's all kind of up in the air. It's up to you. It's up to the studio. But that sort of atmosphere, like people will come and go, and someone will leave for 5 years, and then you'll leave somewhere else 5 years later, and then 5 years after that, you'll both be in a different city together. Like it's a very small industry. You're going to be bouncing back and forth. You're always going to see each other again, which is also something that's really cool about the industry.
I didn't see, like, I didn't know that. I assumed there was like a lot of people scattered around, and I don't know. I assume every industry is just like the biggest thing on the planet, and it's just like unseen. So that's interesting that you say it's kind of a smaller one, and the fact that you can like repeatedly see similar people over a period of time, that's pretty.
Once you're in there. Yeah, once you're in there for like a couple of years, you're going to start to be like, oh, I know someone in this studio, in this studio, in this studio. Like I know people everywhere, because everyone's moving. So, and then they'll meet someone, and then you'll meet them through your mutual friend, and so everyone's going to, the longer you're here, the more people you're gonna know from all over the world.
But before we move on, you also brought up fan favorite film here at the Waffle Press, Cats.
Oh yes, I did.
Now I don't know how much you can say, how much you can divulge, but I have to ask: is there a butthole cut of Cats?
And I mean, I never saw one, and I feel like I would have seen one from where I was, but yeah, I didn't see it. Maybe because this was from the actor, right? This came from the what's his name? I forget his name. Because I think that came from the actor, because he was saying that.
Yeah, I think that was
design or something.
Yeah, right at the height of their press cycle, I believe.
Yeah. I suppose it's possible that when they were hiring actors, they showed them like concept art of their characters, and maybe his character looked a certain way. I'm not sure, but I never saw anything like that. I saw it and I was like, what? What is he talking about? But it was a big movie, so who knows?
One of the last films many people saw in a theater. So
yeah, it stuck with them. It's like a bad taste in your mouth. It's like, man, I gotta go back. And watch something else.
Shout out to a personal friend of the show, Angie Hahn, as well, because she might lead the Cats fandom on either
excellent.
Twitter or in real life, possibly both, but they're out there. We're out there, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
waiting for
There you go.
anniversary screenings. Yeah,
The
Cats,
revolution. Yeah.
Cats gang.
We went to a showing. It was after Christmas, so a couple of us saw it right as it came out. Then we all went home for Christmas because it was like December 17th or something, I think. And then we saw it with our families and our friends, which my friends didn't really appreciate it, but they saw it with me. And then when I came back to Montreal after Christmas, a couple of us saw it again in the studio, and that showing was probably the best showing I'd ever been to, because all the ones before that, people were out of town, no one was really going to the theater, and if anyone was going to the theater, they weren't going to see that. And so it was very empty. But this was like, I guess it was like not spring break, winter break or something. And so all these college students were there at the theater at like 9 o'clock at night. Half of them were high. Like it was awesome. Like I'd like people right behind me in my row were definitely high, and they were all like giggling and laughing at the commercials. And like I think the a trailer for or like an ad for Rise of Skywalker came on, and they're like, "What? We could be watching that." And I was like, "No, you want to watch this? Like this is definitely gonna be more fun for you. It's gonna be an experience." And yeah, it was so much fun because everyone was just laughing hysterically at all the wrong spots, but it was perfect. So that was really fun. Seeing that with everyone in like a packed theater, like that was, I never thought we'd get a packed theater for this stuff.
Yeah, I will say my showing, I saw it twice in theaters. The first showing was not super packed, but it was perfect. I saw it under the I was completely sober, but I saw it under the perfect circumstances. It's just a long story. I don't want to like go through every beat of it,
Yeah.
but if you follow me on Letterboxd or you listen to the Cats retrospective, I explain it thoroughly. And I did watch both Rise of Skywalker and Cats on the same day.
That's, man,
It was a lot.
that's a lot.
It was a lot. And yeah, I agree. If you had checked out Cats and said, good job out there, it was an experience. And I think that's kind of what I love about like certain films too. It's like maybe there are like some more films I could argue are like a better that I just don't engage with on the same level, and that's like fine. Everyone has different experiences, right? But I definitely was engaged with Cats, like sincerely, unironically, and a little ironically at first. I'm not gonna lie, I mean the internet did kind of take that trailer by storm.
Oh yeah.
And but did anyone else have more fun talking about literally any other movie that year?
Right. We outshone all the other movies, which that was the thing that we were all really excited for at the studio. Was like we knew that a lot of people were gonna think it was just really ugly and like scary and weird. But what we were really excited about was we knew that it wasn't just gonna slip under the radar. Like it was going to be trending and huge, and everyone was going to talk about it. We didn't really care what people said because we were proud of our work, but we were just excited that people were going to be talking about it, and it did not disappoint. Like everyone was going nuts, like losing their minds. It was a lot of fun to be at the studio those weeks.
yeah. The Irishman whomst? No, that
yeah, right? Yeah.
2019 belongs to the Cats.
Belongs to the Cats. Jellicle year.
I barely discovered what Jellicle meant, so I'm still a little bit. I got some more research to do.
I still don't know what Jellicle means.
Apparently, Jellicle is like it's got some like Latin roots or connotations. Yeah, like it's an actual like word, which is actually kind of disappointing. I wish it was just made up for the
some made up word. Yeah. Well, it is. Who's the guy that Andrew Lloyd Webber took this from? I forget his name. It was like poems from some dude.
Yeah, let me check really quick. I
should know this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's finally all leaving my brain. All of the Cats knowledge.
T.S. Eliot. It's a series of poems.
I guess he wouldn't be one to make up words. He would. Use real ones.
His loss, our gain.
Yeah.
And I guess the last question I have regarding specifically your industry is how else can people support digital artists and then VFX artists?
Um, I mean, I guess like I don't know, just try to not talk shit. I guess, and that's kind of kind of silly. Like oh, the VFX artist is telling you to stop talking shit about it. But like because there is this uh it's kind of like VFX is kind of one of these scapegoats of movies because most people just have no clue how it works, and so when people come out of a movie and they're like, oh, I didn't really like that, or I don't know why I didn't like that. There's a lot of like just pinning it on the VFX, even if maybe the VFX was good or they didn't even see half the VFX because they had no idea it existed. And not to say there isn't actually valid criticism of VFX, but there's this aspect of criticism that's like just kind of unhealthy, and part of it is critiquing VFX in that unhealthy way. I feel like, and that kind of puts a bad name to us, and that can affect our industry because like you have the fan base, and if they're sharing their opinion of that, then you have the film studio, and they're looking to their target audience, and so then they're going to start advertising to them, and which will then start affecting us, and so the people that are hiring us that we're working for are advertising us in a bad light because people are saying these things. So I guess it's just like I wouldn't expect you to go and research all this stuff because it's a lot of stuff to learn, but just like I guess if you're not sure how something works, then maybe read up on it before you're like out there just shooting nonsense onto the internet. Follow VFX artists. There's a lot of great ones on Twitter. Todd Vaziri at ILM, he's been there for years, and he's always sharing incredible facts and just information. And if people are talking shit, he'll usually call them out, which is really great. Yeah, I guess just like open your inner movie eye to VFX a little bit more, I guess, if you're not already. But yeah.
Yeah, the last subject on this podcast, we're going to talk about like the best and our favorite VFX in movies, and because there's a lot of great shit out there. And I also wanted, I didn't really put it in the outline or anything like that, but I thought it was going to be a good place to talk about also like, yeah, that like I don't know anything about that side of movie making, but I know like when it's really good, we tend not to even notice it. And a mutual friend of ours, Andrew Boyd Allen, they had a great thread going on about all the movies that use VFX that you had no idea about. Like, I really love the Leica productions, the stop motion animation productions that they have.
Oh yeah.
And there's one for The Missing Link, which just straight up blew my mind because I just assumed it was like, oh, they just did all stop motion. You just do it all together. Like, why not? And how it was all put together. It's like, oh my, they're like maybe two things in the room, but it's like seamless. And then they add like the other 16 elements on there with like the weather and the light and it's
all that stuff.
Insane.
It's so good. Especially I feel like I'm not sure how they did it like when we were growing up, but I mean it's green screen, so I imagine they've been kind of the same. But yeah, the stop motion movies, they use a lot of green screen that we don't notice, like because again you think, oh, it's all on set, they're just moving all those guys every frame, and they're just all there. But I guess it's just like an easier way to an easier workload to be like, okay, let's focus on this guy and just this guy, and then tomorrow we'll do this guy, and then we'll just put them together later on the computer. And so I guess it's just a smart way to do things that we just never think about. It's like, oh, it's not on the computer, it's there. Like you don't need a computer.
And this isn't the question I had written down, but it just came to me because this is always like a topic of debate, specifically with like action movie Twitter. Like blood squibs versus like digital blood. Like the John Wick movies have a lot of like digital blood, or something like the Suicide Squad had a lot of like digital blood too. And like I don't know. I think it's like cool. It's just different. I don't know. Did you have a hot take on that or anything like that?
I mean, I think that it's just a tool. Like like anything else, like if you want to use VFX for the blood splatter, that's your choice in your arsenal as a filmmaker. I don't think one's necessarily better than the other. I think in certain scenarios it's better. Like I don't know how you would do this with special effects, but I think in the the video that Andrew shared, there's a clip of John Wick underwater with like I think he's like shooting a guy underwater. I don't know how you would do that with special effects and just I guess you're just hoping that the blood would spread out in a certain way instead of how it might naturally in the water. That's another freedom of doing it digitally is the director might want the blood to splatter in a certain way. It's like, well, we can't control the weather, director, but you know we can make it up in the computer, and so it's those little ways to use VFX. You know, it's not always just the big CG characters. It can be just like a tiny shadow in the corner that the director wants to look a certain way, and it's just so much simpler and maybe smarter to do it in VFX. So it's just another tool.
Yeah, I forget what filmmakers said it, but like when they saw like it was like the original Snow White or something like that back in the day, and they were just like, oh my god, like animation kind of is this perfect format because you finally have complete control over like every ounce of the production. And I think like the digital side of filmmaking now kind of has the same impact, you know, like how many David Fincher movies are like piecing together stuff in post-production after like, you know, you shoot in separate plates and you're getting like the weather for this one. Okay, here's what we saw that on the day. Then you add this stuff. Okay, this could add nice texture to the lighting. It's just like you would never expect it because he's like, oh, David Fincher makes like dramas and like crime thrillers. Like you don't need a lot of VFX for that, but you do. You
it's
do.
Like, oh,
you don't even know.
It was cloudy that day. We had to pace out the sky and put in, nice blue skies. Yeah, there's a lot of it's all like whatever the director wants. Like if you can't film on a sunny day, then it's possible to replace it. So maybe the director will just be like, hey, we'll just do that. It's all up to what their strengths are as a filmmaker and what they choose to use and just their style of filmmaking. Like David Fincher, like you said, he does that a lot. Like that's how he's been doing things. He's very comfortable working that way. And that's it's not a good or wrong way to do it. It's just his way to do it, and it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically any David Fincher movie will be like, yeah, that's one of the best examples of VFX, just because you don't even see it half the time or most of the time, honestly. And it's and if it is noticeable, it's not an inherently bad thing either. Like we're just praising Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And it's like, no, it doesn't look realistic. I guess
it looks cool. Like obviously it's fake. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just cool shit. Or like, I really love the Wachowski sisters Speed Racer film, and
I've never seen that.
Oh my god, it'll blow your mind. And it's like, it's so much happening all the time. And I guess spoilers for the retrospective that we're doing on it. That'll come out, I believe, the same week as this one. And I think it's one of the best movies ever made. And it's only possible, the way they made their version of the film is only possible with like the leaps digital technology had made in like the 2000s. Like that's the only way this movie could have worked. And it's so stunning. It's so like expressive, because like if you really like take a look at stuff, it's like some stuff looks almost unfinished, but they're trying to like represent like an out of focus camera lens to like heighten like perspective and depth. But they did it all like just with like the weird digital tapestry that they got going on. Oh, it's so good.
That's so cool. I'll have to check it out.
Oh yeah, it fucking rocks. We are a very pro Speed Racer podcast.
Is it better than The Last Boy Scout?
Ooh.
See, I know how this works.
Speed Racer, yeah, I know. Speed Racer just fills me with joy and optimism and makes me truly believe that art can change the world. The Last Boy Scout just fucking rocks. So I don't know.
It is good. It is very good.
Yeah, it is. It is the most vicious blockbuster of the 90s, arguably. But before I start reading out tweets, because we get some responses when we ask tweet questions, so thank you to everyone who responded.
Good job, guys.
Any of your favorites that you got that you want to mention right now? We can kind of hop around because there's probably going to be a bundle we want to mention.
Yeah,
But
for saying like favorite VFX.
yeah, for favorite VFX. Yeah.
I mean, up there, Davy Jones, man, he's just fantastic. Even all these years later, I just, yeah, he's just always impressive to look at. I don't really know where to start with him. He's just, I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
like I feel like everyone's probably seen the movie. He's just like the lighting, the animation, the effects, like the texture, all like the way they chose to execute it on set. Like they had Bill Nye. They used what they got, what they could get from him. Their method of creating the character and putting him on. So like all the decisions they made were all executed brilliantly. I thought. Yeah, it was just like you watch those behind the scenes. It's so impressive, and it's so interesting to watch. Like all the stuff they did, all the decisions they made to get to the final result was great.
Yeah, and even though it's a sequel, it's a standalone film.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know if you've seen that video of the woman like who's at a bachelorette party and she keeps going, have you seen Pirates of the Caribbean 2, Dead Man's Chest?
That video was great. I loved that.
It's a video of the summer, I'm telling you. But yeah, Davy Jones, like it's a funny video, but like she's like right. Like,
yeah. She's not wrong.
Yeah, like Davy Jones is like unbelievable. He's like still looks so like wet. Like I was convinced, I was like, oh, okay, so this is when they started doing like here's some practical layers, and then they add the digital stuff on top of it. So like they probably had some fake tentacles, and then they just used stuff to move. Right. Nope, it's all on the computer.
They had Bill Nye there making those fantastic facial expressions, and that was it. They didn't even they thought about using his eyes. They did the makeup around his face to help try to track the eyes, but they did CGIs too. Like they're like, we just like how it turned out so much.
Like, yeah, that's just fucking crazy. It looks better than stuff that comes out today, and it's
so good.
Yeah, and not that there's not good stuff today. Like, well, I'm sure we'll get into some stuff too, but like, I don't even know. Yeah, like you said, where do you start with that one? Like, you can
so
do
much.
it like a series just on Davy Jones.
Oh
like
yeah,
a character.
Articles have been written. It's just there's so much.
Yeah, and Davy Jones got some love in the responses, of course. So the first one is at Jacob Knight _JK. We shan't ever forget Squid Daddy, and it's just a GIF of Davy Jones. So thank you, Noah, for that.
All hail Squid Daddy.
All hail Squid Daddy. Yeah, I mean, like all of VFX and like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies are like really good. Like I'd argue like the first one, the skeletons like don't hold up nearly as well, but also like when you first watch them like in the theater like in 2003, it was like, whoa, that looks great.
Oh yeah.
And then somehow they created Davy Jones just a movie later, and you're like, what the fuck?
They really sat down. We're like, all right, let's
let's show them how it's done.
Let's show them how it's done. Exactly.
Yeah. The Lord of the Rings movies, like the early 2000s, when the blockbuster stuff started getting like really like almost artful,
Yeah.
In like in a way that it hadn't before. The Lord of the Rings trilogy was just like mind blowing still, and like maybe some stuff also doesn't hold up great in that too, but how often do you get like so swept up in 3-hour films,
Exactly. Like it it's something it's a really great testament to like the director and like just all the filmmakers is, even though VFX might not necessarily age well, if the movie's still utilizing them the best way they can, and like the directing and the acting and everything that's happening was done really well, you're not gonna mind. Like you might start noticing now that like there's some not so great green screen replacements of like orcs onto like a miniature of a tower or something, but you don't really care because the movie's so good. So it's movies like that where it's like, not only do I notice it now, but it's still fine. Like I'm still okay with it. Like even moments in Jurassic Park where it's like clearly he's a giant CG dinosaur, but I don't care. Like the actors believe it clearly. So it's those are the movies that stay with you for forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, I had a conversation with another filmmaker pal, and I don't know if they want to be named, so I won't name them, but they're like just I really like the takeaway from what they said was like, yeah, like you want stuff to look as good as possible, but if you can have other people sell it for you on camera, like it'll always just like
That
it'll
helps.
just work. And sometimes you just want to make something look that can be exciting. It doesn't even mean realistic, it's just
Yeah.
totally different ways to do stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, this is from at Lanky Frampert, Ethan, friend and listener of the show. Titanic and Lord of the Rings trilogy were the golden bridge era between practical and completely CGI VFX. But in terms of mind-blowing and camera stuff, The Thing, Star Trek the Motion Picture, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Have you seen Bram Stoker's Dracula?
I have not.
That's a fucking movie. Oh my god. That movie rocks, like on levels that are unprecedented. You're into the horror stuff right now. That's a
Yep.
great Halloween watch. It is tons of fun. And they do I believe everything they tried to get in camera, like at least like 90% of that movie is in camera effects, and it's just like
That's pretty cool.
And again, it's just the tools that they set out to work with, but it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like Speed Racer, Bram Stoker's Dracula, two ends of the spectrum right there. Oh, that would be a great double feature. Oh my god.
Double feature that. I might have to do that.
Yeah, your eyes will like explode, but you'll be happy about it. At Movie Kale, another friend of the show, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Verbinski trilogy. Not going to say more than that, but I agree. The first Transformers movie. I'm going to pause in the middle of that tweet, and I would argue every Transformers film actually has like really remarkable like VFX and like a mix of the practical and digital. But like, there's a reason Michael Bay got to be one of the more popular directors on the planet, and it's because he's pretty good at the big boom boom pow, but he also sells all of it,
Yeah.
Like no one ever says that's not like that doesn't look legit. It's always just it's too much. And whatever, everyone's got their own opinion, but I this stuff looks good.
Like, no, it's I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, well, obviously there's not a real transformer there, but like your eyes are gonna still tell you that it's right there. Like, that's one of the great things about doing like metallic things or like robots or props is we're really good at making those look real now. So it's like as long as the transformer animation holds up, it's gonna look real. It's gonna fit right in. And like you said, he's really great with merging that with the practical effects. So like if you have actors on set reacting to real explosions and real trucks flipping, and there's a transformer just pasted in there, like it's gonna hold up.
Yeah, and on a sidebar, it's incredibly funny because he's like his next movie, after Six Underground, which is like the most expensive movie Netflix ever made. He's like, I'm gonna do something smaller, do a little contained thriller called Ambulance. I'm like, what could he get away with in an ambulance? And then there's footage of him in downtown LA, like blowing up an entire street with the ambulance driving through. And I was like, that makes sense.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I love it. I'm super excited. And the rest of Kale's tweet, the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. Yes.
Good VFX.
Great VFX. Yeah, good stuff there. And Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I think all the recent Apes films have like really remarkable stuff.
Those were great.
Yeah, I'm still again. That's like a Davy Jones situation where like, where do you even start?
There's just so much. I love the especially the third one with. I mean, the Ferd stuff was already great. But then you have them go into all these different environments, like the snow, landing on them, and just there's so much to unpack that. It's like Davy Jones. There's just a lot to talk about, but that's impressive, especially when there's all these characters. Like there's so many of them too. Like you had all the motion capture guys on set. It's not just Davy Jones and like maybe 6 of his crew in the background. It's like a dozen apes at a time sometimes, and it's just wild.
Yeah, and even like for the American soldier stuff in like when it becomes the Great Apescape. Like
yeah.
There's like a lot of that is like digital because it's easier to put them
Yeah,
in after, and
exactly.
that's just, you know, time and money. You got to do what you got to do, and it looks like good. I bet you didn't know that a lot of them were fake, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
like, I don't know, that's great stuff. And I like that you mentioned the environment changes in that movie. You know, it starts off in like the lush forest with the waterfall and all that
Yeah.
jazz.
They
And
really, they're like, how many different places can we put them in?
yeah, it's like,
It's like
what's the
just
best
going on
looking
an
movie I
adventure.
can make right now for $150 million? Here you
Yeah.
go.
Yep.
It's great, man. Really excited for that Batman movie. Don't push that again, please.
Ooh,
I
yeah. When's
want
that
it.
coming? I want that. I was
Supposed
gonna
to
say,
come. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah. I was gonna say, speaking of things that people don't notice, I forget the actor's name, but the actor that they pasted into what was that zombie movie? The uh,
Zombieland.
Las Vegas zombie
Oh,
movie,
Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead. Yeah, they had the pilot was pasted in all of their scenes. It's like
Yeah.
they had someone else on set in the movie, and then I forget what happened to them. I think they they got on people's bad side, and then they had to cut them out of the movie completely, and they just pasted this actor from green screen sets back into the movie, and you can't tell at all. Like if you didn't know that happened, you would never have guessed. It's like that's some real good invisible effects right there. And
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah.
just too distracted by the zombies, but it's like no, here's a great VFX shot of just like 6 people walking down in a tunnel. It's like they
Yeah.
weren't there; they were on a green screen.
Yeah, the great Tig Notaro, who kind of
Yeah,
steals that movie, and I like that movie. But
that
she's
movie was fun. Yeah,
yeah, she's like great in it. And it's like, man, imagine how much better if they just cast her right from the get-go. Like you can't predict stuff like that. That's no one's
you
fault.
can't. Yeah.
But that was that's like insanely impressive. And
Oh
I
yeah.
have no idea how. I mean, Zack Snyder's like a Michael Bay guy who's like, you know, you could take him or leave him, but like the VFX across his stuff is like
Yep.
is pretty solid, you know.
Yep.
Like a lot of his stuff really holds up. Did you see the Snyder cut? Because I thought that
I
actually,
did. I
yeah, I
did. Yeah,
thought that
I
actually
spent
had
the
pretty
whole day
impressive stuff
watching
too.
it. I enjoyed that a lot more than the original one. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, also same. I don't, I'm not like a diehard Snyder fan or anything like that. I've kind of come around and stuff, but like I that's just
Yeah,
cool. The guy got like 2 big wins this year, so
he
good
did.
job,
Yeah,
guy.
good for him. Good for him.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
we all need a win after the last
We
year
exactly
and a half.
exactly.
At Graham Harwell said anything by Fincher and anything by Verbinski. You're speaking our language, my friend.
There we go. They get it. The people get it.
Yeah, and I think more people get it. It's just the Twitter, unfortunately, sometimes it's like, oh, this is why practical is better. And it's like, no, not really,
Yeah.
because sometimes that stuff doesn't look good either. That's fine. It's just
Yeah.
again, the tools you want to use
They're
that you can get
all
away with, you know.
they're all just tools.
Yeah. It's kind of as pointless as like the film versus digital debate. It's like, I don't know.
Oh, I never got that because like
Yeah.
it even in like from where I sit, you have you've got like the comp artists, and they'll like when they integrate a CG character into the scene, the thing they'll do first is they'll take the plate and they'll degrain the plate. Like I always see people when they're talking about digital versus film, they're like, oh, the film grain. It's like, there's something about it. And it's like, well, then you have the comp artists who will degrain the plate, so it's just grain free. Then they'll put the grain free CG character in as well. Then they'll copy the original grain and they'll just paste like a whole brand new fake replicant of the grain on top of all of it together. So it looks like the CG character has the exact same grain and there's no like grain seams or anything because it's just all brand new grain, but they just copy it. So if you can copy the original grain of a from film, then how is there even like how can anyone tell?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure maybe there's people that aren't me that can tell because I can't tell. I just know they do it, but I can't tell the difference. But I think that's kind of silly to be like, oh, it's the grain is perfect. It's like Detective Pikachu. I liked filming with film. It's like, but it's all CG characters. You just destroyed it all anyways. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, like I don't know. I am a bit of like, I guess like a grain fetishist too. Like I love the look of like 16 millimeter, but it turns out you can kind of almost replicate it perfectly with a lot of digital cameras and like a post-production process. If anything, I would just argue that film is like easier, probably. I mean, like apart from like exposure and stuff, I think digital makes that aspect easier. But like okay, so like I've been getting more into photography, right? And so I got to play with like a film cam for the first time. Thank you to my friend Eric for letting me try that out, and I'll probably invest in one in the near future now because of that, because I had a lot of fun. And also because those things, those babies, you get them developed and they're just basically ready to go. With digital, I'm like, I need to make it look like it took place on planet Earth and not in like a gray hellscape.
Yeah,
like that happens. And but besides that, like who gives a shit? I don't know.
Like I get people can prefer one or the other, but to say that one is better because of a certain thing, it's like, well, if we can get the same thing anyways, then it's not necessarily better. It's just maybe it's your preferred one, like you're saying, to use. But you know, it's kind of just like the special effects versus VFX. It's all the tools you choose to use. Like if you want to film with this because it's more comfortable to you as a cinematographer, then go for it. You
know. Yeah, it's we're all just having fun here.
We all just like movies.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, no need to gatekeep through any specific things. I also again want to shout out the thread that our friend Andrew Boyd Allen had. They start with At World's End, the Pirates of the Caribbean. There's a little David Fincher in there. There's Shape of Water, which maybe has the best looking creature like in movie history.
Very, very good creature.
Yeah, that's a mix, but like that works because of like the last additions to the lights and the VFX and like the facial movements and everything like that. Parasite gets a shout out in there, which
that was good. Set extensions.
Yeah, that one is like just unbelievable.
You
Again, something that you would never know.
Never know.
I'll link the thread in the description and the YouTube version of this. So if anyone's interested, go check that out.
Definitely give Andrew a follow for VFX stuff.
Yeah. We had them on for The Mandalorian as well. So
I watched that one. Yeah, that was a very exciting, very exciting podcast.
No, thank you. Yeah, lots of fun.
I love me some Star Wars.
I was gonna be like, oh well, maybe not so much at the end, but like most of that was very fun for that season. So that was a genuine treat. That was Gene and I always say, like, you know, the first season we kind of did it. We had our guests on and stuff like that too, and then by the end we're like, maybe we won't do next year. I don't know. and then it just got like fun to do again because maybe the quality improved, and it was a little weird to see that it got divisive the second season. And then I got it at the end, the divisiveness, but you know, it's what it is.
I really have been enjoying Bryce Dallas Howard in those seasons. Like she's a very great director. I like her episodes.
Yeah, like I kind of want to see what she does with like a big budget feature film, because like my paranoid mind was like, they're probably testing out the next Star Wars directors with these shows.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, there's nothing to disprove that exactly yet. But Bryce Dallas Howard, I think I maybe don't give her Star Wars right away. I would argue that no one who kind of does low budget stuff should get a Star Wars right away, just because that's a big process for any human being to take.
It's huge.
Yeah. But I'm there for whatever she decides or gets to direct a feature film, because she totally sold me on her capabilities there. And again, someone who like just jumping into it got a nice mix of like, obviously there's a lot of practical stuff there too, and obviously the volume and the revolutionary technology in The Mandalorian. She just she's very confident, and that's great.
Yeah.
The last tweet I'll read out was from @RainsPhoenix. No idea who you are, but thank you for responding. Player One was pretty cool. Doctor Strange. Yeah, not Ready Player One, just Player One.
Oh.
I guess. Both overly visual done. I guess if it's to do with making things non-existent, limbs, building, etc., there could be heaps. I don't know. Sad face. So, okay. Thank you.
Good talk.
Good talk. I did like the VFX in Doctor Strange.
That was cool. Yeah, it was really wild.
Yeah, it's just a lot of
a really fun way.
It's like Inception, kind of on caffeine.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool. You know,
it's like everything's spinning. You're like, oh.
Yeah, and like I saw a lot of like criticism towards that, like, oh, it's just Inception. It's like, yeah, but like you still don't see that often. It's still kind of cool. Like,
It is.
sorry, I
It's
like buildings folding into each other. It's just
right. It's like, why wouldn't I want to see more of this?
yeah, like if I saw in every movie, I'd be bummed, but I don't. So let me
Exactly.
let me have this.
I am
Um,
very excited for the next movie with them with Scarlet Witch because I loved WandaVision as well.
yeah,
That was very cool.
Elizabeth Olsen is such a good actress. I am like, I want to see what other opportunities she gets outside of these two, because she's killing it, and she was great in that show. And my boy Sam Raimi's coming back for the next Doctor
Yes,
Strange.
yes.
It's the boy is back in town,
Back in
and that's
town.
another person who's great with all types of filmmaking. That his Raimi Spider-Man trilogy
Oh
is
yeah,
still like so good. Like Spider-Man 3 kind of gets tossed in the wayside when it comes to critical discussions, but like check out any action scene from that movie and it's unbelievable. And like the
it's
textures of
very cool.
Sandman are like still groundbreaking, and the all extension of character, like even Spider-Man 3, which is like, known to be kind of a mess, like it's extension of like ideas and not so much. I mean, there's like obviously corporate mandate. I don't think it's controversial to say. I think everyone knows, but like it doesn't feel that much like it while you're watching it, and I just think that's very impressive.
Yeah.
That might be just like the best looking superhero stuff in general. Maybe Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy stuff. He should have
Hellboy.
gotten to finish a trilogy.
That would have. Yeah, I love the
I'm
Hellboy movies.
yeah. I'm always very upset about that. But Hellboy 2 specifically, I think, is like just stunning shit. And I could talk
Oh
about
yeah.
anything Guillermo del Toro does for hours and hours and hours, but I don't want to keep you
Pacific
here.
Rim.
Oh, the Pacific Rim is so
How
good.
do we not bring up Pacific Rim yet? Oh my god.
Yeah. That man, watching that in a theater was just the best.
It was so cool. It almost like if not for the occasional cut back to Charlie Day, I would have had to take a step out of the theater or something. Like it's just so intense and such a huge scale. It's like you just feel like something's gonna step on you or you're gonna drown or it's wild.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters twice. One a regular showing, again in IMAX.
Yeah, I saw that in IMAX.
Oh
It's
man.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and again, I tend not to be a guy who's like, you gotta watch it in the theater. Like, I don't know. There's plenty I like watching at home, like I don't know, like Nicholas Winding Refn movies. Maybe I like watching stuff at home. Like I checked out the Neon Demon at home and I really liked it. And only God Forgives I liked more when I watched it at home. Drive was fun in the theater though. But like Pacific Rim, it's like, oh man, if you're gonna go to a
It's
theater
yeah,
though, that's the one to do it.
it's
And
definitely the one.
yeah, and I believe Guillermo del Toro has said, I don't know if the tweet's still up, but he wants to do like a big like 10-year anniversary thing for when that comes around. So
I would love to go back and watch it.
yeah, I
Oh my god.
here is my claim. Then if that does happen, I'm gonna gather every waffle press friend in Los Angeles, and we'll just pack in a theater because that
There
would be
you go.
so much fun. Oh my
Yeah.
god, someone set that up for Guillermo del Toro while he's off
give
revolutionizing
give the man
Hollywood.
his movie. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he can make a sequel at some point.
That'd be cool.
That would be very cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
give
just like
him carte blanche.
forget the new one that already came out.
That's moving on. Whoops. um, yeah, so I guess we can keep talking about every VFX thing we really love, but if you have one like note that you want to go out on, one high note of VFX that you feel sets the standard, and I didn't set you up for this at all, so I apologize if this is off the cuff, but like
It's fine.
if you had one that you had to be like, no, that's like, if not your guiding star, like at least like set the bar for you.
Uh, hmm. Well, this is like a mix of VFX and special effects, but that's kind of what we've been talking about. I guess two sequences that are just they've always been impressive in my mind, and like I feel like they always will be. Um, the very famous Jurassic Park T-Rex escape scene is like phenomenal. Um, yeah, again, just like all these things, just so much to unpack about them. But Yeah, just like everything down to the like the sound editing guy, like all that, I just made the sound editing guy sound horrible. I didn't mean to do that. No, but like everything about that was executed to perfection, and so that whole sequence is fantastic. Another one that I really love, and it's also a blend of special and visual effects that more people I feel like might not know about, is this is my favorite movie ever. Is Apollo 13, Ron Howard, the rocket launch when it first takes off into space. That whole sequence, like that and mission control and going through the whole thing. That sequence is so good. They even had I think Buzz Aldrin came to Ron Howard after the movie. He's like, "Where'd you find the stock footage of the launches?" He's like, "No, we did that ourselves." It's like, "No. Where's the stock footage?" Like it just looked so real, and a lot of it is practical effects. Like you had, I think it was like an 8-foot tall model rocket, and they had the what's like that red elevator tower that's next to the rocket that they all go up in, and there's like they just like get the best camera angles. Like, there's a camera angle where it's about to launch, like the rocket's shaking, and like they have like CG debris falling off of it, and it like goes down, and as the camera pans down, there's like the bridges from the red tower are like moving off, like they're snapping off the rocket as the camera's about to pass them, and you have all these great cinematic shots, and then you have like the fire from the rocket, and they got that practically, and they pasted that in, and like they take the rocket from like the parking lot, and they comp it into like this this field where they're all shooting on set, and so like all these invisible effects and all the really easy to see practical effects, but it's all comped and pasted together so well that at the final cut you got an astronaut saying, "Where'd you get the footage?" And so that's a great sequence. I love that. I love that movie. Even after that shot when they're in space, just tons of great visual and special effects work. Like you really believe that they're in a rocket ship in space. Like there's nothing to tell you that they're not. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite just uses of effects in general. That scene. Definitely watch that movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's a great film, and shout out to Buzz Aldrin, who once punched a man in the face when he was told the moon landing was fake. So king
yes,
shit.
Yes, Buzz Aldrin.
That might be the greatest human being who's ever lived. Just for that alone, not even the moon landing, just for punching a guy in the face.
Punch him with a moon rock, like,
yeah, that rocks. Mr. Josh Clark, thank you so much for joining us today, or joining me today. I'm so used to saying us because Gene's not here today.
I miss Gene. Oh.
Yeah, Gene. Shout out to Gene. Go follow him on social media too.
Yes.
But, yeah, thank you sincerely. Thank you so much. It's so nice to finally meet you, quote unquote, in person. Now,
maybe one day.
Yeah,
in person.
Yeah, when the nightmare ends, and the pain stops.
Oh God.
But until then, where can the listeners find you?
So
online. I always forget to do the online thing.
Don't come knocking on my house. Yeah.
And your address is
yeah, there you go. Let me write down my social security. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's Josh Clark VFX. Yeah, I'll be there. If you like seeing cool VFX stuff, I'll tweet that. If you don't like political rants, then maybe don't follow me. I don't know. I'm kind of half and half. But hey, it's Twitter. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. The political rants are just part of Twitter DNA at this point.
It's embedded. I hate it as much as you do, but I do it anyway.
Look, sometimes we just need to tweet through it.
Exactly.
Hopefully under good situations.
Exactly.
But again, thank you so much for joining me. And you can check out the rest of the Waffle Press stuff on Twitter, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Patreon. I probably forgot something. Some other stuff coming up. We got at least one more hangout plan for the end of August, so stay tuned for that. That'll be a fun little surprise. I'm not going to spoil that one. And let's see what else. Patreon. We're going to have some stuff earlier. I have not been slacking because it's always been optional, but like I've not been creatively, critically writing so much, and I've had a lot of thoughts in my brain about movies, and most of them are good. Some of them are not so good. So you can look forward to that, at least within either, if not August, then early September. I'll be putting more stuff there. And of course, Gene and Nick will be doing 7-Up Comics. Mechmaringo and I will be doing more retrospective stuff. We have at least 3 ideas for the fall. We will probably do 2 of them. Happy Emblem's returning. We're going to be breaking down into mini seasons because it turns out when you try to talk about every film that Steven Spielberg directed and Adam Sandler starred in, it does get a little overwhelming. So we're going to be breaking that down. Their careers aren't going anywhere. So, you know, eventually I'll get to talk about how Uncut Gems is really that good and how Adam Sandler got snubbed at the Academy Awards. But until then, you could also find me at the Jacob Crespo on Twitter. Check out, again, the rest of the Waffle Press and all the links down below and links described. And again, Josh Clark, thank you all for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.
Do you know their drink? Also, have you seen Pirates of the Caribbean 2? So it's called Dead Man's Chest because he's dead, but his heart is in a chest. Which one is that? So the thing is that even though it's a sequel, it's a standalone film. I mean, are you a fan of CGI? Then you should watch Pirates of the Caribbean 2. So the thing about Pirates of the Caribbean 2, Dead Man's Chest, is that it's like Citizen Kane had a baby with Romeo and Juliet. And seriously, it holds up. It looks like it could come out in 2021, and it came out in 2006. The rum is a metaphor for something important.
Will Turner reminds me of my mother.